We can rebuild him. We have the technology.
My name's Chris.
I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast. I know we said we weren't doing it tonight, but I felt fantastic after a surgical procedure.
I know. People, come out of anaesthetic like me, groggy as all hell. And you just come out like you've just been given...
Yeah, I may have rolled out of it. Thank you, by the way.
Snorted cocaine or something like that. Springing around.
It wasn't recommended on my discharge sheet, I'll give you that much.
Okay.
Just thanks everybody, by the way, for people who sent me good wishes. It was a simple procedure and I ate everybody's food.
I think you might have sent him too many. You know, these thoughts and prayers are obviously working a little too well.
So I was a bit worried about how my voice would be tonight. I was a bit worried about how I'd feel tonight. The answer is I looked at Kristie halfway through watching the 10-play catch-up of tonight's episode and went, you up for a podcast?
Alrighty, let's do this.
And special thank you, by the way, it didn't end up happening, but special thank you to Beck Podgy, who had agreed that if we needed to, that she would step in. And
yeah, it was really nice of her.
And we will get her on at another time. She's very busy at the moment, being, a real person running a real
chef,
running a real kitchen,
and making real food and doing real things. That's yummy.
And we horrendously admire you for it.
Yes, and don't forget to find her on Twitter. It's at Beck Podgy.
Yep, it is. I will look up her Instagram before we finish, so you can see all the delicious things that she cooks. But in the meantime, I did say to everyone I wouldn't be there last night for MasterChef, and
he was.
Well, I was, and that's important. Because the main reason I really wanted... Look, immunity challenges are fun, and we'll talk in depth about the immunity challenge. But last night was interesting for a completely different reason. You had 3 people in blacks trying to survive. You had Pete, you had Eloise, who, deserved to be there on the basis of what had happened the night before. But over the course of the show, you looked at Eloise and went...
She's pretty safe.
This should be good.
Yeah.
And then...
Digga-digga-ding.
Raywatch begins early, ladies and gentlemen.
Some people get in their blacks and...
don't really know what to cook.
And some people... I've got no song tonight.
You've got no song?
Oh, what's going on, Kristie?
Well, you're thrown off. You're thrown off because Ray won't be there like we sing in the song.
No, he won't be there.
Because Ray, he will be there, but he won't be. And this is where we're going to come down to it. Because Ray did survive.
Yes.
But...
only just. Skin of your teeth, Ray. Skin of your teeth.
I'm amazed that he survived. So when I'm saying that Ray won't be there, not for much longer. And look, Ray, we love you on Twitter. I have to start raising a complaint I've raised before. And I know I just used raising for Ray. Well done. See what I did there?
I saw her, I heard.
Anesthetic, working wonders. Ray, on Twitter, you are fantastic. You are wonderful. You are a joy to behold.
And you're obviously a fantastic father.
You are. You haven't written for Nathan on anything. I know none of your children are called Nathan, but the temptation must be overwhelming at this point. However, when we get to, the end of a challenge, and you're up for elimination, do not tweet out, oh, well, looks like I'm gone. Because I'll tell you exactly what I said last night. The second you went, oh, well, looks like I'm gone, I messaged Kristie because I was in a different room watching it, and my comment was...
bye-bye, Pete.
Pete's dead.
You spoiled it for us,
I
Ray.
know you're trying really hard not to, and I know that potentially one day what you'll end up doing is double bluffing us and going, I'm gone, and you'll actually be gone. But Ray, seriously, stop spoiling the episodes.
Yeah.
It's a problem, dude. We love you, but it's a problem. Because last night was legitimately close. Well, and then there was Eloise. Yeah. So, 5 dishes.
Just 5 and, in 60 minutes? Like, holy shit.
That was reasonable.
I just saw your face, Ray. That was insane.
Now,
I'm like talking as if he's here.
I know.
It's just
Now-
I just saw your face, Ray.
Now, to me, everything looked amazing. Granted, I was fasting for hospital. So every bit of food I've seen for the last 2 days looks amazing.
Yeah.
I may possibly tonight once I left the hospital, Kristie may have bought me some of my favourite Lebanese chicken, and I may have inhaled it quite rapidly.
Although you did have to share some with the cats who just
Decided that chicken looked good as well. But so everything looked good to me. But that food last night, and especially as I said the other night when Yotam came on the first time, you had me at hummus. And by gum, if he didn't put together just this amazing plate of hummus and
it was delicious. But it was butterbean hummus.
it was butterbean hummus, which was great. It gives me a chance to make reference to that 90s boxer, Butterbean, and the MasterChef.
Kofta?
The MasterChef account was really appreciative. Kofta.
Oh.
Apparently, did you know that kofta is about the same size as an onion?
Oh, is it?
Ray told us that. You know why?
Why?
Because all he did was put full onions in his kofta.
These will go in there sneakily.
Ray, I like onion. You again on Twitter, you're like, don't you like onion? I love onion. I don't necessarily want to eat a whole one with every bite of my kofta.
Yeah, it's the way it's served up. It's like, as an apple, it doesn't quite fit. Grated, chopped finely.
It looked like one of those
moons.
It looked like one of those curries where you quarter the onion and then just slide it apart and go, that'll do. Or one of those Asian dishes where you quarter the onion and then just the big slices work really well in like a Mongolian lamb.
Maybe he was trying to make a little onion boat. They're all fancy and in now. Little onion boat for the kofta.
Except the onion boat was going inside the kofta. It was like an oniony surprise. And I like the fact
Surprise onion boat.
And you know that it wasn't the way that it should have been, because Yotam, rather than being very diplomatic, which he's been all the way through, basically stood there and told you to pick it out by hand.
He's like, bitch, I ain't eating that.
There is no way I'm eating that much onion. So...
And Yotam is Mr. Congeniality, He's been particularly having to be ushered around by George.
George seems to be trying to operate him like a puppet.
Yes. I mean, it was Matt's duty to usher around Nigella last year. So.
I don't know if it was Matt's duty. I think Matt volunteered.
Yeah. Okay, it was Matt's delight.
Matt volunteered as a tribute, I believe.
He won rock, paper, scissors.
I hope that next year...
Spock.
I hope that next year, once they smooth over the Marco Pierre White thing,
I
really hope that Matt has to walk Marco around for the week. That would be gold.
You can go, here's your kingfish.
Where's my kingfish?
Here it is. I've got it right here in my cravat.
I'm so sorry, Lord Marco. Anyway, so Pete was in a world of hurt.
Yes,
for a large part of it. At one point, Pete commented there was no time to think, and I may have tweeted out that's potentially a plus. That wasn't saying anything about intelligence, Pete. What that was commenting on was the fact that when you have time to think and plan, it goes very badly.
Yeah.
When you just follow a recipe...
And you bang it out of the park. But
it goes very well. Meanwhile, it was very good of you at one point to say, I decided to take a peek at the recipe to see what I was doing. That was handy, Pete. You're doing someone else's challenge, probably a good idea. Take a bit of a gander. Just to use a Peterism.
Although I just saw everyone's their stomach drop as he goes to lift up the lid on the food processor and dump the yogurt into.
And that was
mix.
Early too.
I know it was early. It's like.
And again, MasterChef sound cues, they've got them spot on. They dump the yogurt and you hear, duh. And everyone on the gantry goes, like he's murdered a firstborn.
It's worked in Egypt. Oh no, that's what they were trying to prevent with the goat's blood.
Yeah, that was what they were trying to prevent.
In that
you saw your Brenner. I saw your Brenner in The King and I and the no smoking commercials. Anyway, so Ray then got himself a bit flustered.
Yeah.
And started doing the tease about his kids, which is where I was sure for Nathan was coming out in hummus.
Just a little butterbean for Nathan.
And when he was trying to work out what he was going to be doing with it, I again tweeted at him, just stack it, Ray. And the other night when I tweeted at Ray about stacking things, his comment was, I'm not particularly good at that. And I'm like, rubbish, you're a master.
You're like Mr. Lego.
And there was one of the moments where Ray, I can't remember which dish it was that he served up, but he served it up, looked at it and went, I'm looking at it and I think to myself, what have I done?
Was that the kofta with the pomegranate on it?
Yeah, it was the pomegranate. Yeah,
because he overdid the pomegranate.
No,
Not
Pete
only was over.
Pete overdid. Pete was the one who overdid the pomegranate and overcooked the koftas.
Also, I think Ray was the one who put too much pomegranate on the koftas.
Yeah, but Ray looks at it and goes, "What have I done?" And you could just almost hear Twitter collectively going, "We've been asking you for weeks, Ray."
Being a bit hard on Ray.
We're not being hard on Ray because, unfortunately for poor Ray, every time they give him screen time, it's going badly. And again, look, he pulled it out of the fire. So we're about to make a big turn on Raywatch. Not everyone gets their own segment named after a Hasselhoff show.
Now,
There's no Tomorrow Night Rider.
Something I've noticed in the past 2 weeks in terms of the immunity challenges is it's the people who pay attention to detail and might be doing the tortoise kind of thing, like reading it properly and going through it like Eloise did
She
last
was
night.
very thorough until she got herself flustered.
Yep.
And who knew that a Yotam comment at the very start about make sure your benches are clean could come back to be the drama on the show for Eloise.
Was that my dish? Was that my dish?
And Eloise pointed this out on Twitter, and I have to agree with her. Everyone on that gantry, you spend all of your damn time yelling at everyone down below about what's happening. The second someone needs a meaningful piece of advice, you all shut up.
Yeah.
Someone needed to yell at her, no it wasn't, keep cooking.
Yeah.
No, everyone just went, oh no. Oh no. And Yotam just looked at it and went, ooh, oh. And like at this point, reassure her, guys. Just no, eggs. It's all good.
But all the producers are going, yes,
Drama. So that was the moment for Eloise, and they didn't bother to resolve that until the end of the challenge when she walks around a bench and counts on the fact that there's 5 of them there. Although if you were watching very carefully, there was one of the long shots with about 2 minutes to go where you could see that none of the plates had fallen, so you could go, okay. Because if anything was going to fall, it was the koftas. They were right on the edge.
Yeah, they were on the edge.
Yeah.
Don't push koftas.
It's like a jungle sometimes. That makes me wonder how she keeps from going under. So Pete, poor Pete,
overdid his koftas.
Overdid the koftas.
I'm just going to rest these little balls of mince, which, is made from meat that needs to be slightly under to kind of get it perfect.
Eloise worked that out amazingly well because she went, they're a little bit under, but I'm going to take them out now because I feel like they're going to just keep cooking in their own juices.
Heat,
so I'm going to take them off. And she got her koftas spot on.
It's like when you're making scrambled eggs at home, you pull it off when it's still a little runny.
Yeah, and do a little
and keep
bit.
scrambling and they come out perfect.
Exactly. And the other thing was we got to hear a callback to my least favourite MasterChefism. Mm-hmm. You eat with your eyes.
Ugh, no you don't. You have a mouth and teeth.
What that was
you need to masticate.
What that was code for was that Ray and Pete, we really can't split either of you at this point in time.
Yeah.
Pete, you didn't make it look good.
Yep.
That's the difference. Because you both botched different dishes.
Yeah.
So we can't even judge you dish versus dish because you both screwed different things up. Mm-hmm. So Pete sort of went home on the basis of he just didn't care how it looked.
Yeah.
Thus ended Point.
Which is a shame because he had so much potential.
He did. And look, again, I didn't agree with the way they kept on talking about the idea of him just being a crane operator because it made it sound like crane operators can't cook.
I know. And
which is rubbish.
No, it's people from all walks of life who can cook. It's...
Cooking again. I know we're talking about the best of the best and the elite idea. That's the idea behind MasterChef. But come on, everyone can cook.
Well, look at Elena. She was a school teacher. She can cook. You're a school teacher. You can cook.
It's the school teacher in us.
Yeah,
that's what makes it happen.
My friend Reese in marketing, he can cook.
Goat
is his specialty.
Love you, Reese.
Yeah, love your goat work.
Not a fan of the goat work as much as, but anyway. Anyway, so thus ended Pete, and thus survived Ray, much to Kira's chagrin. But, you know, it was close. Pete was probably the right call. Ray,
he's just been off, and we saw that in the challenge on Thursday.
Pete's he's been way out.
He just couldn't get a was it Thursday or Sunday?
No, it was from last week. He was struggling last week, and then into this week. There were a couple of times where Pete just had no idea what he was doing, and like I'm not saying that in a cruel way. Legitimately, had no idea what he was like last week at the start
of
last.
Steak and chips. Yeah, that was in the other elimination.
Yeah, last week, Ray had the problem at the start of the week where Ray legitimately didn't know what he was doing and was walking around with an empty basket 20 minutes into a challenge.
Yeah,
and Pete this week, every challenge that popped up, his creation, because it was all creation. Yeah, and as we said, Pete, the reason why Pete could keep winning in blacks. He follows instruction well.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of potential. And when he executes something well, he like kicks it out of the ballpark like that. His coconut ball, that was delicious. Delicious. I didn't taste it, but it looked fantastic. We just saw him starting to struggle. It's like Jess, just, you know what I mean? Like they just came out of the zone and it's disappointing.
Well, this is kind of the point of the competition where you can get lost in your own thoughts. And it's very dangerous. And the last thing on the elimination episode was that at the end when they give you what their food dreams are and what they're doing now, and it was talking about Pete wants dreams of owning a bed. Pete dreams of owning his own bed and breakfast.
It sounds like he literally just wants to own a bed and a breakfast.
Well, see, I misread it. I just read Pete dreams of owning his own breakfast.
Someone send him home with
and I'm just like,
game.
I'm like, aim higher, Pete.
Just get some Cocoa Pops.
Lunch at the least. You know, just aim higher than breakfast, dude. You can own more. Maybe own 2 breakfasts.
My suggestion was he goes to IKEA because he can purchase both a bed and breakfast there. If he's happy with like cinnamon scroll.
Or meatballs.
Or meatballs and lingonberry. Yeah, just saying.
Where else are you going to find lingonberry at 9 o'clock in the morning? IKEA. Okay, so with that in mind, let's move on to tonight's challenge. Now, for context, tonight's challenge began just as I was being wheeled into surgery. Legitimately, I was sitting in a waiting room, which should have been done I was told for 3:30, and at 7:30 I was wheeled in. And I was just about to ask them to swap the TV over to MasterChef as they did it. So that was disappointing.
And you got tortured by Channel 9 afternoon.
I was tortured by Channel 9 afternoons. Replaying it was their news, followed by their news, followed by an hour of Eddie Maguire.
Oh, yeah. Hot Millionaire Hot Seat.
And then followed by an hour of the news again. And then a current affair.
Oh, God.
Good news, everybody. Dole bludgers still ripping off the average taxpayer. So, moving on.
Yes.
That pie.
Yes.
Looked amazingly tasty.
Yeah.
Looked like overkill.
It did. Like, I had to get my head around. It probably tasted delicious, but there was icing sugar on top. It's like he watched The Castle the night before. I'm in Australia. I'll watch a nice Australian movie. Oh, icing sugar. What do you call this stuff on top, Dal?
Icing sugar.
Oh, you wouldn't want to go out.
Why would you want to go anywhere else?
Yes. Get this here.
So, there were 25 ingredients you had to guess. I loved some of the crafty guessing. Salt, for example, was genius.
Dude, I'm surprised someone didn't say pepper.
Yeah, well, Tamara talked about it. She thought about saying pepper. She thought about saying oil.
Pepper?
She thought about saying oil. The answer is there were four types of it.
Oil. Pick an oil.
So, Diana was the first one out of that.
Yeah, with the Barbary. Now, she was overthinking it.
It's Moroccan food.
Yeah, she'd studied his recipes. Now, if you look at cooked Barberries, they look like kind of little shriveled red jelly beans. Like, and they're kind of like oval in shape. Currants are tiny.
Currants look like currants.
Black. Little.
They look like currants.
Currants.
You can't
like
mistake them.
Currant bun.
You can't mistake them for anything.
Or on a current affair.
No. There were no currants on a current affair. Although just as bitter. They're just as bitter on a current affair.
Are currants meant to be sweet?
Not on a current affair, they're not. Anyway, so we had Diana first of all going out, and again, Moroccan food. The answer is it's currant. If you're not sure, it's a currant. It's just flavours of Morocco, currants.
Yes.
It is an issue I have with Moroccan food. I don't have many, but...
I love it. I love a bit of fruit in my food.
And Tamara had a really good crack at that challenge too. She was unlucky. You know, she's been on a bit of a streak, but Karlie is white hot this week.
Whew, she's on fire.
So Karlie gets to go into the challenge.
She has like a fire brigade following her around.
Now, you knew things, though, were not necessarily going to go Karlie's way when she put the chicken into the pressure cooker with the skin on and they played the dramatic music sting.
Yes, like... You know, some people don't like the skin, but I decided to keep it on.
You know, skin can divide people, but I like the flavour and I think it's really good, so I'm going to leave it on. Bum, bum.
It's like they told her to say that because literally the judges were divided.
And that's exactly what the judges said. You know, some of them said, I love that, I don't mind it. And some of them went, no, not for me.
No, but even then, it was, I don't mind it. It wasn't I love this.
And I think the other thing is too, there was, and I hate using the words George was right in that order, but that little fatty bit that he was talking about.
Yeah, it's not pleasant.
It's wonderful when you crisp it up.
Yep, absolutely. And she should have just whacked it off, threw it in the pan.
When it's a bit soggier, it just becomes a bit chewy and a bit and you don't really want it.
Yeah.
So I understood, again, I hate saying the words George was right because there were so many other times he wasn't.
Like when he's like, talking about like, this is the pin, just want to remind you what you're fighting for tomorrow. It's like, I've just heard George's bedroom voice.
When I got picked up tonight, the only thing I was told about tonight's episode was, watch out for the bit where George gives bedroom talk.
Oh, you're so wrong.
And by the way, all of the nurses in with me pulled a face and went, oh, God. You're talking about MasterChef? I went, yeah. And she went, George bedroom. Ooh. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that kind of...
We all got to hear what Mrs. Columbaris enjoys.
Godspeed, Adam Columbaris. Godspeed. Anyway, so... She went skin on and put it into a pressure cooker.
Yep.
He takes the skin off and crisps it up, which I love. Look, I actually think the chicken crackling is underrated.
I think there was a moment that, like, the skin turned... He flipped the skin over. It's this, like, beautiful golden colour. And suddenly it's just raining drool from the gantry.
Yeah.
It's rain and drool from the gantry. It's rain and drool.
You know what else was raining from the gantry? Chef-splaining.
Term for it, chef-splaining.
Yep. And chief of the chef-splainers tonight,
Eloise.
Well done, Eloise. Who started explaining the cooking time to the professional. And a couple of other people joined in. Sarah at one point joined in. Callan at one point joined in. But they all started chef-splaining to the chef. And I'm like, he's a professional, guys.
Dude, settle.
You know, he does this for a living. Like, you're hoping and aspiring to do this for a living. You've got a blurb when you're eliminated that says you're hoping to do this one day.
They're doing it.
They're actually doing it one day. In terms of one day is yesterday, today they're still doing it.
Yeah. I mean, we're not sure how much longer Shannon will be able to keep doing it.
And wasn't it interesting to see? Wasn't it interesting to see tonight? The guy who was the professional taking a completely different tack and sucking up to Shannon Bennett.
Yeah, that threw Shannon off. He's like, I don't know how to...
I've been to your restaurant over 20 times. You go, you're doing my tomato water. And he goes, yes. And Shannon's like, what? He's like, no, I've been to your restaurant over 20 times. The first place we ever went when I was 16, it was fine dining, was your restaurant.
Yeah.
And Shannon had no idea what to do with this. Eventually he went, well, we're going to kick your ass. But even then, it was sort of like not really, it was half-assed.
Like, do you feel old now, Shannon?
You feel old now? There's a professional chef in the kitchen who says he looked up to you when he was younger.
Now, tonight, I think there was a great little spiel by Sarah about it's now the Karlie show.
Yep.
And not in a negative way. She's just like, she is on fire. And it's true. And was it Kira on Twitter basically said, it's like watching The Bachelorette or The Bachelor.
Well, we had said that last week, but last episode, but that was a bit different. That was when they were walking hand in hand in the garden, picking leaves.
Yeah, they just need to slow it down and just put a little like soft focus.
And I think her not getting the pin tonight was Yottam's version of we need to take this slow.
Yeah.
So that was the message. We need to take this slow. Yeah. No pin for you.
Although I was hoping that then, if they weren't they were incorporating some elements in The Bachelor, that Sarah would jump down from the gantry for some one-on-one time, just kind of barge
steal him off for a bit
really
of a date.
Awkwardly. Can I just talk to you for a minute?
Can we have a 3-person date? This goes really well.
Yeah,
this always goes really well.
This isn't awkward at all, me staring at you guys, comfortable, sexy position, is it?
No. And because we haven't got to mention him tonight so far, Gaston.
Yes.
Okay, I know I use this line almost every week, but it really works this week. Gosh, how it pains me to see you, Gaston, looking so red in the face. Every guy here wants to be you, Gaston, but maybe not standing in that place. Because it looked like you had not been anywhere near shade for a week, man.
Yes. I don't know what it was.
You were lobster red.
It's like the colours. And it's not our TV because everything else is fine. It might have just been the MasterChefs.
Gaston was bright red.
It's like...
and on the gantry, he was a little red.
Yeah.
And in the one-on-one face interviews, he was radiating. And as a red-headed gentleman with very pale skin, I can tell you what radiating from sunburn looks like.
Yeah.
Ben was living it.
Yeah, and everyone on the gantry did look a little tan, so I presume they've, been out on the weekend, maybe to the beach or just spending time in the Peel. Presume they've got a Peel where they are.
Maybe they've got a Peel.
Got a Peel.
So,
yeah.
Wafted on the breeze.
Oh, don't start that.
Anyway. So, look, Karlie did a fantastic job, but it was apparent very early on that the pro was winning this.
Yeah, and the scores reflected it as well. Hers were only in the 7s. And, usually when something's, there really was, neck and neck. It's around the 9s. And
like last week's one with a 9, 9, 9, 9, 10.
10. Yeah, exactly. So it was very, very close, but not quite.
So I think I found that the immunity challenge was okay. It wasn't too bad. I thought that the elimination this week was the better of the two nights.
Yeah.
It was more fun to watch. Sad to see Pete go, but more fun to watch.
I don't know what it is, but when MasterChef first started a few weeks ago, episodes seemed to drag on for fucking ever.
Yeah.
I mean, literally they did.
One did. Yeah, remember. We all remember. The first Thursday night was the failure of all failures.
Yeah, the two episodes in a row. But the past couple of nights, tonight, I felt like it was really quick. We didn't get into much depth with the tasting challenge. No. They kind of just sped through, just a little montage of cloches being opened to get through to the person who was going to... Yeah.
Cloche montage. You gotta have a montage, a cloche raising montage. So, with that in mind, we will leave you all with this for tonight.
Yes.
And hope you enjoyed the fact that we actually got the podcast out.
Yes.
I know I'm somewhat impressed and amazed.
Yeah, apologies I didn't get my Raywatch song on. I'll have to work on that.
You've got some time. Look, he'll be in the challenge next week too. We love you, Ray, but come on, it's Blacks again.
He's a part of the Night's Watch. He's probably the night commander now.
Possibly by Thursday he could be back in Blacks again.
Yeah, he's like the Jon Snow of...
What keeps him back from the dead?
Yeah.
Anyway, so with that in mind, we will see you all you lovely people again on Thursday night. My name's been Chris.
I'm Kristie.
And we'll catch you later.
Ciao.